It's pretty clear at this point that the media, the government, and the liberal establishment has decided that if you're concerned about mass immigration and multiculturalism, even if you are anti the riots and any violent disorder, you're an evil far-right bigot who doesn't belong in modern Britain. Incidentally, this was one of the reasons I thought the riots were a bad idea in the first place. The liberal establishment is now just using them to re-emphasise their worldview with the threat of police action. So while Starmer cracks down on the dissenters, whether they've done anything wrong or not, the liberal media is going to pump out their narrative like never before. We've seen this expressed uniformly across the tabloid newspapers, yet here we have the unbearable liberal newsagent media service. They've been speaking to ex-SNP leader Humza Yousaf as well as Sadiq about how they fear being in modern Britain.
What has the last week felt like?
It's felt utterly horrendous. It is a strange feeling, John, when your very sense of belonging is questioned.
Now, it goes without saying I'm not pro any racial abuse or anybody being bullied or attacked for their skin colour. Yet what Humza Yousaf just said could be said by millions of people up and down the country, not just Muslims. We found it utterly horrendous when young people going out for a drink on a Friday night had their throats slit in London Bridge. We found it utterly horrendous when children were blown to pieces watching an Ariana Grande concert in Manchester. We found it utterly horrendous when children were stabbed and 3 of them murdered in Southport 2 weeks ago, though the media is largely ignoring that now. And whenever these tragedies happen, the mainstream line is to change your Facebook profile picture to something which commemorates the tragedy, to sing Don't Look Back in Anger, and then carry on like nothing happened, pretending everything's a multicultural utopia without any problems. And because of all of this, many British people have felt for a long time up and down the country that their sense of belonging has been deeply questioned.
Look, I'm, as you've said in the introduction, I'm about as Scottish as they come. Born in Scotland, raised in Scotland, educated in Scotland, just welcomed my third child here in Scotland, was a leader of the Scottish Government for just over a year, leader of the Scottish National Party. You cut me open and I'm about as Scottish as you come.
Now, as I've said before, I'm not actually anti-immigration. I think movements of people is relatively standard throughout history. However, the numbers are always very low, and the people that come to a new country have to integrate into the broader culture. Now, I know a liberal would wet their pants and call me evil and racist for saying this, but is Humza Yousaf really as Scottish as, say, Rabbie Burns or William Wallace? I mean, bear in mind the equivalent would be if my parents moved to Pakistan and I was born there, and then I joined a left-wing nationalist party which seeks to split up the country of Pakistan, then got into their parliament and complained about how all the people in leadership positions are brown.
The Lord President, white. The Lord Justice Clerk, white. Every High Court judge, white. The Lord Advocate, white.
Now that clip goes on for about 5 minutes of him doing this, but what does he expect? Scotland's about 96% white. Does he expect Scotland to have a ruling class of ethnic minority overlords? So does any of this sound like integrating into the broader culture of a country? After all, if I did all that in Pakistan, would that make me as Pakistani as Mohammed Jinnah or Mohammed Iqbal?
But the truth of the matter is, I don't know whether the future for me and my wife and my 3 children is going to be here in Scotland or the United Kingdom, or indeed in Europe and the West.
Now, of course, I can have compassion for anybody who feels they have to flee their home because they fear violence. However, in saying this, Humza Yousaf is also letting on to a dimension that he and people like him have that many Europeans simply don't. Yousaf is, of course, saying that he has somewhere else to go. The people of the UK, the people of Europe, don't have that luxury. This is our home. We haven't got anywhere else we can go. And second to that, if we raise that we're concerned about our children, about our future, about the yearly tragic attacks that seem to happen now, we're told we're evil far-right Nazi scum who aren't welcome in modern Britain. Even if you try and make a calm, rational, peaceful and ethical case for your concern, the likes of Humza Yousaf and Keir Starmer will look at you like a horse that's just been shown a card trick. They simply are so lost and embedded in progressive ideology, they don't even consider that you're worthy of moral consideration. In their eyes, you're simply a privileged oppressor, and you either need to get with the program and shut up or get the hell out. Yet not content with using just Humza Yousaf, the newsagents also invited Sadiq Khan, simply to hammer their narrative home to make sure the plebs get it.
And what broke my heart, John, yesterday was my daughters being scared for the first time ever because of the colour of their skin and because they're visible Muslims. And I went through that, the National Front, the BNB.
Now, I can believe Sadiq Khan faced some troubles when he was growing up. London was pretty spicy in the 80s, you had the ICF and the National Front and so on. There were fights that would break out. However, am I supposed to believe that his daughters are going through the same thing now? I'm sorry to sound cynical, but his daughters are likely living a very privileged life in modern London, which is only a third white British anyway, and the Brits that are there all vote for the Labour Party.
I'd be the last generation who would get that sort of stuff, because my kids could be more British, honestly, or English, or Londoners.
Starting to seem like a rehearsed line that now, isn't it? Now, if I'm wrong and his children are facing this horrendous racist abuse, then I'd be first to admit that that's wrong and not fair and not right, but we are ignoring the elephant in the room here. That is, of course, that this all started because 3 white children were murdered by the son of Rwandan immigrants. He didn't target a mosque, did he? He didn't target a black church. There was a reason why he went for them. And it was the same thing with the Ariana Grande concert, as well as the London Bridge attacks. The list goes on and on. However, if we say that we're worried, we're somehow immoral and evil to the liberal mainstream. The only way that you can atone for your sin then is to feel sorry for Muslims. And as I say, I'm sorry if these people are facing unfair racial attacks, but there seems to be bigger issues that are going on at the moment that we're ignoring. And as I keep saying, to me this just doesn't bode well for the future. These are just some of my thoughts, however. Do let me know what you think down below, and do consider subscribing to the channel.